Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I would like to talk about a very interesting figure that affected and is still affecting our everyday lives, Steve Jobs. No matter where are you from, you know for sure who that is, the founder of Apple. Stephen Paul Jobs was born on February 24th, 1955, and was an American business magnate, industrial designer, and investor. Jobs was born in San Francisco, California, and put up for adoption. He was raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. He attended college in 1972 before dropping out that same year and traveled through India in 1974, seeking enlightenment and studying Zen Buddhism, like you do. And he abused a lot of drugs, but that's for another day. He was the chairman, chief executive officer or CEO and co-founder of Apple, the chairman and majority shareholder of Pixar, a member of the Walt Disney Company's board of directors following its acquisition of Pixar, and the founder, chairman, and CEO of Next. Jobs is widely recognized as a pioneer of the personal computer revolution of the 1970s and 80s, along with his early business partner and fellow Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. Steve Jobs had an amazing career and innovations, from the iPod to the colorization of displays. He left his footprint as the CEO of one of the most successful companies in the world. But is his legacy any good? Today, we'll be looking a bit more into that. He is famously known for stealing or copying some other companies. And the first, probably most famous heist happened around 1975. In a nutshell, Jobs and his colleague were working together, and Steve was known as the low-level employee with greater potential, of course, while Wozniak was the better engineer. Together, they worked on Atari, one of the first video game consoles which revolutionized the video game market back then. The first game that came out was Pong, a classic for its time. I did not know about this game until the research for the video, but you do not have to know anything more. It was a hit. Due to its high success, Bushnell, the founder of Atari, thought of making a sequel that would be only a single player and call it Breakout in 1975. At the time they were close friends because they were both working towards Apple I, the computer that turned out to be revolutionary and extremely profitable for years after its release. The way that the bonus worked was that Atari paid for every used chip less than 50. So for example, if one chip is costing $1,000 and they used 49, they would get, you guessed it, $1,000. If they used 48 chips, they would get $2,000 and so on. I think you get it. Steve was chosen to take care of the project and was given 1 month to accomplish it. He told our friend Wozniak that there is a payment about this game, but he didn't tell him about the bonus with the chips, remember? Our guy chose, of course, to recruit Wozniak, asking him for help on the big project. He was thrilled. Jobs told him that the deadline was not a month, but 4 days. Later, it is revealed that he had to go back to his commune farm to help bring in the apple harvest, his main job and this project. So he would end up going to this job in the daytime and spending most of the night working on Breakout. Not forgetting to share with you guys that he didn't even tell him about the bonus. Just as I said earlier, he kept all the money, went to his little farm in 4 days, and the only thing that he actually did was implementing the required chips, making sure that they were less than 50 chips to get his hands on the bonus that he didn't share. They ended up making the game with only 45 chips, which is impressive for its time. And when payday came, Steve Jobs only gave Wozniak half the pay, the chip bonus not included. He kept the rest of his pay as well as the bonus for himself. Some say that he kept the money to work on Apple One, others say that he needed it. Whatever is the reason, the fact that his friend was deeply hurt years later is still valid. Wozniak only found out about this 10 years later thanks to the book. Here I will quote some of Steve Jobs, the exclusive biography by Walter Isaacson. Bruh. When he talks about it now, there are long pauses and he admits it causes him pain. I wish he had just been honest. Those are the words Wozniak said. If he had told me he needed the money, he should have known I would have just given it to him. He was a friend, you help your friends. And the last thing is, ethics always mattered to me, and I still don't understand why he would have gotten paid one thing and told me he would be gotten paid another. But you know, people are different. The next sticky situation has happened on 19th of January 1983. Apple released the PS called Lisa. Please remember that name until the end of the video. It is relevant for some reason. It had many innovations such as the graphical user interface, a mouse, and document-centric computing. Now these upgrades were revolutionary for the technology back then, and according to Byte magazine, the computer was the most important development in computers in the last 5 years. This all sounds great, right? A genius idea, taking humanity one step forward to where we are and will be in the future. The progress of however is always a great milestone for society, except that the idea was stolen. Yep, it was taken from the auto computer developed at XEROX.
Basically, they were copier heads that just had no clue about a computer or what it could do. And so they just grabbed defeat from the greatest victory in the computer industry. Xerox could have owned the entire computer industry today. Could have been, a company 10 times its size. Could have been IBM. Could have been the IBM of the 90s. Could have been the Microsoft of the 90s.
There is nothing wrong with improving technology, but bragging how you stole it and saying that the company that gave you the grants to work on is full of copier heads is just a little too much for me. Here we are going to talk about a little bit more about the relationship that Steve Jobs had with his employees. So stay with me. The most interesting thing that I found during my research is that Steve Jobs and Edwin Catmull are founders of Pixar in 1986. The original idea was to create graphic computers or animations. After a few years filled with unsuccessful sales of a graphic computer, they decided to sign a contract with Disney to save the company. They will make movies and Disney will distribute them. Pixar, as we know, the movies that Pixar created were extremely popular. Few examples are Toy Story, Up, Finding Nemo, and many others. Without a doubt, Pixar was just a fraction of the impressive, growing portfolio of Steve Jobs. But, as you know, we are not here to be part of the code Jobs has created. During his days as the chairman of the board of directors at Pixar before the huge success, they lost profits because of the hardware, software, and animated content. And who is always paying the price when something is not working according to the plan? The employees, of course. Each one of us would be forced to make this tough decision if we were in the shoes of Steve. But in this case, the execution was the problem, not the painful step towards saving the company. Jobs had to make a round of deep layoffs or fire people. Instead, Jobs insisted that the employees were to be let go without a warning or severance pay, which is straight up illegal, in my humble opinion. Imagine going to work just to be told, nah, we won't need you anymore, you won't be getting any payment. It's just a big bruh moment or F in the chat. And as we started to talk about sudden layoffs, let's talk about the next questionable act, and that is, of course, MobileMe. Back in the back in 2000, our guy decided to work on a platform that enabled users to wirelessly sync emails, contacts, calendars, and other data between an iPhone and their computer. While today this is something normal, back then it was revolutionary, of course. The product launched on the 5th of January 2000. Not long after, the users' complaints began. They experienced problems with syncing data across devices and even accessing their email. Of course, after that, Steve famously called a meeting with the team working on the platform. He told them that they had tarnished Apple's reputation and that they should hate each other for having let each other down. He then fired the team lead on the spot. Understandably, this situation is not comparable to the layoffs of the Pixar employees, but Steve Jobs admitted that it was a mistake later on, so yeah.
It just all works. It just works. Now, you might ask, why should I believe them? They're the ones that brought me MobileMe. It wasn't our finest hour. Let me just say that. But we learned a lot.
Former mobile team member Erin Catton told Medium, who was an engineering project manager at the time, said that the team worked day and night to fix MobileMe, which they knew wasn't ready for a prime time or anything connected with the launch, and had been warning management about for months. No one listened. And I quote, "He made himself so fearful and terrible that an entire group of amazing, talented, hardworking people ended up getting screamed at wrongfully. It was his fault that the MobileMe launch went so poorly, not ours." In 2008, Steve actually admitted that the early launch was unnecessary, and I quote yet again, "It was a mistake to launch MobileMe at the same time as iPhone 3G, iPhone 2.0 software, and the App Store." Jobs writes in an email to Apple employees, "We all had more than enough to do, and MobileMe could have been delayed without consequence." Well, I'm glad that he admitted, but there is still a person fired unfairly, which is unacceptable. I think we can all agree that Steve Jobs had his fair share of screw-ups. But the biggest for me was his attitude towards his daughter Lisa. He had a child with his high school sweetheart in his early 20s, just as he was starting Apple. In 1977, after Jobs had co-founded Apple Incorporation and his partner moved into a house with their friend Daniel Kotke near the company's office where they all worked, it was during this period that Brennan, the mother of Lisa, or Jobs' daughter, became pregnant with Lisa. Jobs, however, did not assume responsibility for the pregnancy, which led Brennan to end the relationship, leave their shared home, and support herself by cleaning houses. Which, she didn't abandon her daughter, she took care of her, and she did everything in her power, so respect. That part angers me extremely. According to his daughter Lisa, and I quote, "I felt ashamed of the fact that I had this father. Clearly, I was not compelling enough for my father, this incredible man. I would think I was an ugly baby. I even asked him that once, and I knew it was cheesy, even as I asked it, or possibly manipulative. But it was a feeling that kept coming up because he wouldn't look at my baby albums. I would leave them out, and then once he was like, Who is that? And I was like, it's me. Do not recognize your own daughter. And yet after the baby's birth, he called his early failed version of the personal computer the Lisa, then spent the next 20 years pretending the name was just a coincidence. In the book called Small Fry, this incredible woman writes about her experiences as a child with the man who changed the world. We will only name the most memorable stories or quotes. In the article that I found out about this amazing woman, it is written that many of the most shocking scenes in the book turn on small acts of unkindness that seem to come from Jobs' shock at having a daughter at all. I am not agreeing with that statement written about the book, trying to justify the neglect that the child experienced. He knew about his daughter all along before she was born and was sued for child support as he already had millions. And he said, quote, 28% of the USA's male population could be the father, end quote. It's just disgusting. Hell, if it wasn't for the lawsuit, he wouldn't acknowledge her at all. Anyway, here are some quotes from the book. You are not getting anything, he snaps at 9-year-old Brenan-Jobs when she asks if she can have his Porsche when he's done. You understand? Nothing. When she lived with him as a teenager, he wouldn't get the heating fixed in her room or have the dishwasher mended. He dragged his feet over her college fees at Harvard, refusing to pay after her first year. And guys acknowledged that he didn't pay child support and he wasn't near her, so her tuition was just a fraction and the bare minimum that he had to do. Fortunately, wealthy neighbors who befriended her stepped in and paid, and it wasn't until years later about that Jobs gave the money back. He had strict rules about how she had to behave to be considered part of his family. Be home early, not spend too much time with her mother, which is just what? Respect his authority as total. I am proud of people like her willing to forgive, forget, and even turn this trauma into success. But girl, Steve Jobs was an incredible innovator, entrepreneur, marketing strategist, and so much more. But please, stay kind and humble while going up the social ladder. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of my content, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment, all that. And see you in some time. Bye.